Hi 5th grade, today we're going to be doing Module 2, Lesson 21, and today this lesson is going to be, again, similar to the last lessons. It's just we're learning a couple new things. So, for example, today we're going to be dividing 3-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers, so that's going to be the major difference for today. So you should have your Module 2, Lesson 21 notes in front of you, and let's go ahead and get started. So, for this problem, 256 divided by 47, I need to first estimate this problem. So remember, I have this number 47 here, my divisor. Remember, I like to write that number down first, and I'm going to round it up or down. I think I'm going to round it up this time because it's 50 would be closer to 47. So I'm going to round this to 50. And then this 256, I'm going to think about what multiple of 50 is really close to 256. So I'll list out my multiples of 50. So 50, 100, 150, 200, and 250. Now 250 seems perfect because it looks like it's as close as I'm going to get to 256 without going over. So I'm going to put this number 250 right here. And then just like we learned in lesson 16, I can cross off my zeros. And then what I'm left with is 25 divided by 5. Now 25 divided by 5, I can also think of this as 5 times what is 25? And that would be 5. So that is my estimate. That's what I think my answer is going to be close to numbers, not my exact answer. So now I come over here and I work on solving my problem. I'm going to use my estimate to get started with and see if that 5 works up there. So we're going to do 47 times 5. I'm going to do a standard algorithm for this one because this one's not as easy to solve as the problems I've been doing from before. I do 7 times 5, which is 35. 4 times 5 is 20. And 20 plus 3 is 23. So that leaves me with 235. Now I'm going to use my number sense right now, and I'm going to think, well, the difference between 256 and 235 is probably less than 47, so that means that this number works, because if I were to do 47 times 6, that number would most likely be way bigger than 256, and I can't use that. So I'm going to start subtracting from here. So I do 6 minus 5, which is 1, 5 minus 3, which is 2, and that gives me a remainder of 21. So my final answer looks like it's 5, remainder 21. And my remainder is less than the number I'm trying to divide by, so that's perfect. And now we need to check our answer. So remember, I take my divisor, so in this case 47, I multiply it by the quotient, which is 5. We said 47 times 5 is 235. And then I take that answer, and I add my remainder of 21. So 5 plus 1 is 6, 3 plus 2 is 5, and 2 plus nothing is 2, which gives me 256. This number right here matches this number right here, so my final answer is confirmed as 5, remainder 21. So that is for our first problem. Make sure you have all of this work done, and then we will move on to our next problem. So like I said, most of these problems are going to be very similar. The only really big difference is that you're dividing bigger numbers now. So for our next problem, we are going to be dividing 236 by 39. So 236 divided by 39. I need to start with my estimate first. Remember, I have these little squiggle lines. This lets me know that my answer is going to be about this much. So, remember, I like to take this number, and usually I write this number right here, but I don't want to have a number like 39, because that's difficult to just do in my head. So I want to round this number up or down to a number that ends with a 0. So this 39 right here, I'm going to round that up to 40. So we'll round that to 40, because that's a number that ends in a 0, so that's going to be really easy for me to divide. And then I have to change this number into something that's close to a multiple of 40. So I'm going to list my multiples of 40 right now. I have 40, 80, 120, 160, 200, and then we have 240. 240 is as close as, looks like it's probably as close as I'm going to get to this number. So maybe I'm thinking either 240 or 200. Since normally I don't like to go over the number I am dividing by, I think instead of choosing 240, I'm going to choose 200 because I really don't want to go over 236. So we're going to do 200 divided by 40, cross off the zeros, and this leaves me with 20 divided by 4. And remember, I just crossed off 1 0 because there's just 1 0 over here. I do 20 divided by 4. 4 times what is 20? And again, that leaves me with 5. So when I go to solve this problem, I'll have 236 divided by 39. And I'm going to try my estimate of 5 and see if that works. So I'm going to put a 5 up here because I'm saying that 39 groups of 5 can fit into 236. I'm going to use a little standard algorithm off to the side to see if this makes sense and to figure out what number I need to put right here. 9 times 5 is 45, 3 times 5 is 15, and 15 plus 4 is 19. So that's 195. Now before I go on, that number looks like kind of close, like maybe I could add in another number. So I'm just going to try 39 times 6 real fast and just see what that is, just in case that's closer to 236. So 9 times 6 is 54, 3 times 6 is 18, and 18 plus 5 is 23. Ooh, that's a good thing that I checked if 6 works, because 6 is actually way closer than the 5 would have been. So 39 times 6 is 234. And then after I'm done with that, I need to subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2, which gives me 6 remainder 2. And that's going to be my final answer for this problem. Remember, this estimate right here is not always going to be exact. So this might be a good starting point, and then you could add on to it just a little bit to actually get your final quotient or your final answer. So now we need to check our work. So to check our work, I'm going to take my divisor of 39, multiply it times 6, my quotient. We said 39 times 6 is 234. And then I take this 234 and I add my remainder of 2. And that gives me 236. This number matches this number right here, my dividends. So I know I'm correct, and my final answer is 6 remainder 2. All right, let's move on to our final problem together. And like I said, this lesson is very similar to what you've done so far. You're just using slightly bigger numbers. So don't let that confuse you. These problems are still pretty much the same. So now we're on the back of our worksheet. We're working on this problem up here. And we are solving for 369 divided by 46. And over here I'm going to start my estimates. So I'm going to write my little squiggles. And I want to figure out what my answer is going to be close to. So I'm going to take this 46 and I'm going to think about, well, which way could I round it? I could round it up to 50. I could round it down to 40. And I'm going to show you, in this case, what I'm going to round this down to 40. And, well, I could round it to 40. I'm going to show you 2 different ways I could round this one. So I could round this down to 40. I'll think about my multiples of 40. So I got 40, 80, 20, 60, 200, 240, 280, we have 320, and then I have 360. And 360 is super close to 369. So I can write 360 there. Now another way that I could have estimated this is I could have rounded 46 up to 50 and thought about my multiples of 50, and 350 is really close to this 369 if I did my multiples of 50. And either way, this one will give me an estimate of 7, and this one over here gives me an estimate of 9. So rounding my numbers in different ways, yes, I could round this up like I normally would, but then my estimate is very different from if I rounded this way, and now my estimate's 9. So I have to think about which one is closer, which one would I rather use. I'm going to try 9 first and see if that works better for me. But this is why I mentioned in the last lesson that sometimes we have to break the rules of rounding because our estimates could change based on the way that we round our numbers. And we could get closer if we break the rules. So let's go to solving. So we have 369 divided by 46. So what I'm going to first start with is I'm going to try this 9 right here and think about, well, is 46 groups of 9 going to fit into 369? So off to the side, I'm going to do a standard algorithm. 46 times 9. 6 times 9 is 54. 4 times 9 is 36. And 36 plus 5 is 41. So 414, way too big. So maybe I'll try an 8 instead. Let's try an 8 instead. So we can do 46 times 8. 6 times 8 is 48. And then 4 times 8 is 32. And 32 plus 4 is 36. And 368 fits perfectly into 369, or almost perfectly into 369. Now, you can see that this estimate and the estimate that I got was a 7 shows me that I was somewhere close to that finding my answer, but not exactly. So I had one estimate that was 9, one estimate that was a 7, but 8 actually is going to be part of my quotient, my final answer. So using the estimates kind of got us closer to what our final answer is eventually going to be. Now we can go ahead and subtract. So we have 369 minus 368. 9 minus 8 is 1, which gives me a final answer of 8, remainder 1. Now when I go to check my work, remember I take my divisor, 46, multiply times 8. I said that that is 368. And then after that, I take this 368, and I add my remainder of 1 for 369. And that gives me this final answer of 369. So it matches my dividends. So that is the answer for number 3. And then when you get to the last problem, I want you to think of the different ways that you can divide to get your answer. So 712 divided by 94. Think about your factors of 90 for this one. I think that's going to help you out to solve this one. And there's going to be a lot of subtraction tricks that you're going to have to do. Don't forget that when you're subtracting, you need to make sure that you are borrowing from the numbers as well. So don't forget about that when you are subtracting for the U-chart problem. Go ahead and get started. If you need any help, let me know. And good luck today, 5th grades.